Hello, everyone, and welcome to this explainer. Today, we are embarking on a truly comprehensive journey together. For so many of us, the idea of just sailing away on a yacht is the ultimate romantic dream. I mean, picture it. Absolute freedom, endless horizons, and those perfectly tranquil sunsets. But what does it actually take to pull up the anchor and live on the ocean? Well, we're going to demystify the yacht life today. We'll be taking you all the way from that initial spark of wanderlust straight through to the gritty, practical, and yes, financial realities of surviving out there on the open water.
Okay, let's dive into this explainer's roadmap. First, we'll look at dreams heading to the sea. Second, the path to yacht ownership. Third, learning the sea's language. Fourth, the real costs of yacht life. And finally, we will brave 90 hours of real sailing.
All right, Section 1, Dreams Heading to the Sea. Let's look at the historical roots of marine leisure.
So that modern desire you have for absolute freedom on the water, it's really not a recent phenomenon at all. The calling of the sea is a deeply rooted tradition that literally stretches back centuries. Just look at these beautiful historical records. Marine leisure isn't just some modern import. Back in 1763, a Joseon-era scholar named Yi Jung-ok embarked on this incredible 5-day excursion along the Nakdong River. And he didn't just hop on a boat. He packed painting supplies, tea, and even a traditional stringed instrument called a gyomungo. He met with friends, navigated through 12 scenic spots, and just completely soaked in the harmony of nature and art. It really proves that treating the water as a platform for life, art, and relaxation, well, that desire is hardwired right into our history.
Moving on to Section 2, Path to Yacht Ownership. This is where we turn that dream into reality. But how do we actually transition from those historical, romantic dreams to the modern threshold of buying a vessel? Let's talk hardware and numbers. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the sheer variety of options and the real-world finances they represent. According to the Hyundai Yachts Buying Guide, you basically have 3 main choices. First, sail yachts. These use the wind, they're incredibly quiet, and a 30 to 40-foot vessel will run you anywhere between 300 million and 2 billion Korean won. But if you want speed, you're looking at engine-driven power yachts, and those cost between 500 million and 3 billion won. Finally, for those of you wanting wide, super stable living spaces, catamarans are the way to go, but they can easily stretch from 1 billion all the way up to 4 billion won.
So, here is the absolutely crucial point to remember. Buying the boat is only step 1. Actually, scratch that. It's more like an entry fee. The golden rule in the boating world is that you must budget 3 to 5% of the yacht's purchase price every single year. That covers maintenance, marina fees, and fuel. And on top of that financial reality, you can't just drive it off the lot. Depending on your vessel, legally, you have to secure a specific yacht license for sail-powered boats, or a powerboat license if you're rocking an engine-driven vessel over 5 horsepower.
Which brings us to Section 3, Learning the Sea's Language. Let's get into navigation and survival. Okay, so you have the boat, you've got the license, and you've secured the budget. Now, you need the skills. Because let's be honest, the ocean doesn't care about your dream. It demands respect. Let's shift our focus to how sailors actually navigate and survive out there. In our world of glowing screens, what happens when the GPS suddenly fails? Well, a true sailor absolutely must know how to manually read a paper chart. Maritime expert Captain JB teaches this beautifully precise analog plotting method. First, you carefully align your plotter's grid perfectly to the chart's auxiliary lines. Then, you physically measure the distance using a metal tool called a divider. Finally, you transfer that exact measurement to the scales on the edges of the map. That lets you read your exact latitude and longitude down to the very minute and second. It is literally the fundamental language of the sea. But of course, we also leverage modern tech. We have to contrast the broad, fail-safe reliability of the analog paper chart with digital precision tools. For instance, the 2026 Smart Tide Forecast app provided by the Korea Hydrographic and Oceanographic Agency is a real game-changer. If you're navigating into a shallow bay or just preparing for general coastal safety, knowing the exact high and low tide times, down to the centimeter of water height, is absolutely vital. Basically, think of it this way. The analog map keeps you found, but the digital app keeps you safe from scraping the seafloor. All right, let's move into Section 4, Real Costs of Yacht Life. Time to open up the daily ledger. So we understand the navigation logistics now, but what on earth is the daily financial reality of living aboard a yacht long-term? For this, we turn to the Ariario family. They've been traveling the world on their yacht for over 3 years, and this brilliantly illustrates the learning curve of boat ownership. Take a look at their data. In their 2022 to 2023 season, they spent $45,788. But in the 2023 to 2024 season, those costs dropped significantly, down to $36,374. You might be wondering, why the big drop? Well, in their first year, they were hit with major maintenance. They had to fix the rudder, reapply anti-fouling paint, and completely haul the boat out of the water. By year 2, they were much smarter about maintenance, and they strategically traveled through regions like Tunisia, where marina fees and fuel were drastically cheaper.
That being said, some expenses are just non-negotiable. For example, full coverage insurance costs them nearly $6,000 a year, and that's even with a hefty $5,000 deductible. And this isn't just for their own peace of mind. Most marinas out there require proof of insurance just to let you enter their breakwaters. Also, to keep the modern lifestyle going, they spend $60 a month on Starlink internet. It's totally worth it, though, because it allows them to stay connected, work remotely, and, yes, stream Netflix while floating in the middle of the Mediterranean.
But here is a number that might actually shock you. Are you ready? $500. That is the Arroyo family's average monthly grocery bill for a couple living at sea. And yes, that even includes wine. Because they are mostly making their own meals from scratch and living quite simply, they discovered that their grocery expenses are actually about 20% cheaper living on the boat than they were when they lived on land. Pretty wild, right?
Okay, we've arrived at Section 5, 90 hours of real sailing. This is the ultimate test.
We've covered the history, the purchases, the skills, and the budget. Now, let's see how this all builds into a real multi-day journey. What does that actually look and feel like? The Sarilung family, who are actually known for living in a converted 45-passenger bus, took on a massive yacht delivery mission up the Korean coast. It was a grueling 90-hour journey that started in Pohang. Just 15 hours in, they were treated to these majestic, glittering night views of Busan's skyscrapers right from the water. Beautiful, right? But then came a 31-hour push to Jeju Island, where heavy storms and intense winds trapped them for 2 whole days. Finally, they made a 48-hour endurance run up the West Sea to Djibouti. Out there, the water turned pitch black, and they were entirely engulfed in a heavy, terrifying sea fog. We're talking practically zero visibility, forcing them to rely entirely on their radar and the boat's horn.
Honestly, this journey perfectly captures the dual nature of yachting. During one of their grueling night shifts, they made what seems like a totally harmless decision to eat midnight ramen. Well, that resulted in severe, debilitating seasickness that lasted all the way to Jeju. It was exhausting and physically brutal. Yet once that storm finally cleared, they were rewarded with a sea as calm as a mirror and sunsets so profoundly beautiful that they literally erased all the memory of the suffering. It really is an incredible lifestyle. It's steeped in rich history, demands extremely high levels of skill, requires serious ongoing financial planning, and offers this wild mix of sheer terror and unparalleled beauty. We have laid out the entire map for you today. So, weighing the deep, romantic call of the sea against the heavy responsibilities and practical realities we've just explored together, my final question to you is, now that you know the reality, are you ready to cast off?